Hello again, welcome back to European Autocraft Studios 944 Turbo project. We've had enough of the engine for now. It's kind of stuck, so we can't rotate it to get the bore and stroke measurement that I want. So we'll get back to that later. Also trying to find my balance shaft tool, which I haven't found. We've been so busy in the shop with all this other stuff we're doing. But I would like to break down the rear suspension assembly. We're going to get the control arms off and maybe get to the torsion bars, or at least to one side. We didn't do any measurements on the torsion bars. We'll do all that once we get this thing back in the car. We can adjust and make measurements that way. I'm not too worried about it. We've done this kind of stuff before. Everything's going to be new anyways. We're not sure if we're going to go with the stiffer torsion bars. I'll talk to the owner, see if he wants to pony up the dough for the better torsion bars. As it is, the car's pretty decent anyway, so we'll see how far we go with that. I hope I have enough tools here. I kind of gathered up what I think I'm going to need. You may notice Broken Neck's cousin is dangerously close to the edge of the table, the edge of our bench. I'm just going to teach him a lesson. He can just sit there for now. So we're going to start by probably getting the brake off. We'll get the rotor. I'm going to try to get the stub axle out using this puller tool. If I can pull that off, great. We'll see if that works. So let's get started. I'm going to get the brake line out of the way first. So it's so much nicer to do on the bench. I'm just going to counter hold that line of the hose, I should say. This shouldn't be too bad. And then we'll get the sway bar out of the way, or anti-sway bar, some people might call it, or roll bar, or anti-roll bar. And there's a bunch of names for it. I think those are the only four that I know. I'm sure there's more. Yes, all these bushings look pretty good, although we're going to change them. But you look at the shock bushings in these, the links for the sway bar. Those bushings are in pretty good shape. Of course, we'll replace them, but why are they in good shape? I don't know. I doubt they've ever been changed. This car's been sitting longer than it's been driven, I think, and yet it comes apart so beautifully. The magic of Porsche. A little metal clip here. All that's going to come off because these will be treated to the water blasting machine, the water sandblasting machine. Still no parts on the compressor front. That's still DOA. Very sad. Okay. We're going to make a mess already, aren't we? Let's get that hose out of the way. This method usually works pretty well. Give it just a few taps to slide that out. Okay. That's that. Now, brake caliper, 19 millimeter. I should have all that right here. Way. So he really likes the red calipers. I'm somewhat of a black caliper guy, but what else do we have here? Okay, you're on. Will it come off? These rotors have a really big lip on them. And I didn't bring my big screwdriver over. Just want to push these out a little bit. Well, the calipers aren't seized up. That's a good sign. We do have shims. Boy, these are stuck good. Okay, well, let me get my pry bar. Be right back. So it looks like this is going to turn into a little bit of a messy job with brake fluid. Up our spring clips. Nice. There's our other shim. I forgot those are in there. These go behind the caliper just to space it out. Ferrari, the 308s also use those. But they use them much thinner, and you have to stack them to fit to center the caliper. Why they would be off that far, I don't know, but it's... Okay, what's next here? Let's get the rotor off. I can refinish these, probably just get new ones. They're a little pricey, but for the rate we're going on this, that's not going to matter too much. I'm going to need these back on again to push the hub out. Let's see how that goes. Bearing seal feels good, but it's going to get replaced as well. This is a number 3 Phillips. Fits in there really good. And even these are coming out. We'll also take the backing plate with the shoes. Excuse me 1 second. Okay, well, we've got the screws out, but it's going to be stuck. Let's see. Not too stuck. Even the shoes are pretty decent. Wow. There are the lines in there. That's usually very smooth. It's actually worn, like they've been using that as the main brake. I don't know what the lines are from. Must have been dirt and debris in there. Alright, we don't need these. Alright, let's see. We'll get the backing plate out of the way. I'm also going to take the little bracket off. We don't need that there. I don't want to break it. It's actually still in good shape. It's a holder for the connector for the park brake sensor. I'm sorry, the brake pad wear sensor, and a little clip for the brake line. All right, one more. About. These are aluminum, so these will take a nice cleaning. We'll straighten them and put them in the wet blasting machine, and they'll be nice and clean if we ever get our compressor up and running. That's my other compressor protesting. Don't really care. Brake shoes. I probably should take these off now. I get a little trick for that, but I don't have the screwdriver with me to do it. So let me go get that. Thought I had everything. Okay. This is just a basic screwdriver. I think it's 1/4 inch blade. It fits right into the spring. I can give it a push and rotate that. And there we go. If you're ever driving around and you hear this weird noise in your back wheel, sometimes these springs break and they fall in, and they don't usually get between the pad, the shoe surface and a rotor, but they do sort of get around and bounce around and make a jingling noise. That's usually what it is. These do break, so we'll be replacing these with new ones, so they don't break in the future. So we'll see how far we get today on this. We have to get the springs off. I want to get the cable off, so we have to take the expander out. This is the device that when the cable gets pulled, I don't know if you can see that action in there. I kind of have it. I should have showed you this before, but when these are anchored down, when you pull the brake, you see that lever in there that the cable's attached to. It just expands the shoes out. Not very much. That's why adjustment on these is so critical, that they have this adjustment just right, so that little amount will make it grab. So we want to take this out, so I have to expand that enough. Let's see. Pardon my pry bar in your face. Pretty simple. We'll get the adjuster out instead. Once the adjuster is out, it'll collapse, and then I can get the spring off the bottom. There's the adjuster. Pretty simple. You take them apart, grease them up. Not much to it. And they're not even seized up. They look great. So they'll clean up nice, get re-greased when we get our new shoes in there. So now this spring will come out, because this doesn't have those the little bent hook. So on the other spring, I'll show you that. All right. So these are the springs that hold the adjuster. I should have went for that first. And these springs here, where the pulling device is, have this hook. Very difficult to get out the way I was trying, so we learned our lesson once again. Alright. And here is the linkage set up for that. I think I showed you this before when we took the other side apart, because this has to come apart to get the differential out, to get it out of the car. That cable comes around and connects to that side. Okay, our brake cable. Now this is just clamped into the back on a bracket. Little clip. And pull the boot. Boot's all rotted. There we go. And there's a slot for the cable there. Alright, more parts. Well, I think I'll leave the sway bar on for now, and let's try to get the bearing out while we still have it mounted, because it's a lot more stable here than if we had this arm off. You could use a press, but my press is kind of small, so I'd have to go next door to Kurt's. So let's try that. There's some penetrating oil in here a little while ago. Hopefully it's helping a little bit. So far everything else has come off pretty well, so Hopefully this will too. I'm going to use the big gun for this. It's a little loud, but it works really well. Hopefully it'll come off. Not you. Stay there. This is too big for me. While trying to hold this with my hand is absorbing a lot of the energy from the hammer action on the impact. So we're going to have to try it this way first. Once I break it loose, we can get the gun back on there. So let's see if this works. If I'm strong enough. Maybe not. Aye. Oi! I am not strong enough for that. May require a second hand. So we're going to try to get this broken loose with Mr. Cameraman here, so we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, we got it. I ended up just holding this down with a pry bar to keep this from oscillating in my hand, and it eventually came off, so we got it. The best thing, if you're going to take this off in the car, leave the wheel on it, but pull the center cap, and you can put the socket right through it and let the car's weight on the tire hold it while you pull it with a breaker bar. That seems to be the best thing. So we're going to press out the stub axle, but I'm going to leave the flange because that's going to have to go into the press for that. I don't think I can get the flange off of this without any damage. So that's where this is going. I don't get to use this tool very often, but it's pretty handy. This shouldn't be too difficult to get out. There's a little slot that these fit into. And see if we can screw this thing out of there. It's this nut and the stub axle that squeeze the bearing together. So that axle needs to be in to move the car around, or at least the stub axle has to be in to hold that bearing in position with the right amount of preload. We are pulling the flange out. That means the bearing race on the inside is holding the shaft, the stub axle. While this comes out, let's see what happens. There we go. There's our stub axle with the bearing race. So this is this flange is held on by the outer bearing race. Technically, I could just hit this with a hammer and get it out. I'll give it a couple of taps. If it's not going to come out easily, I don't want to force it because I don't want to damage the flange. But sometimes you give it a pop and the bearing race will come out. Looks like it'll come right out. Might be just being held on by the seal. I'm going to turn my trusty pry bar. Oh yeah, that should come right out of there. There we go. So there's the outer race. So we have a bearing, roll of bearings on the outside with a seal, and on the inside with a seal. With the flanges together, this gets compressed to a specific torque, which is quite large, but that's what gives you the preload back here. So that's a sealed bearing. All right. I was going to try to get the whole bearing out. I don't think I'm going to do that here. I just think it should be on the press for that, to get the whole bearing race assembly out. So we'll leave that for now. What else are we going to take off here? Let's get this shock absorber out of the way. That should be 22, I think. 22 millimeter. Yes. Okay. Wow. Eek. Drop this. The answer is no. So, try to get more force on it this way. I don't know if this is going to work or not. There it is. Nice shiny bolt. We'll replate the heads on those. Nice. Okay, don't need that. What else are we going to take off? I have another bracket here for the wire for the. I think that's where the wire comes through for the brake pad sensor. Yeah, I'll take that off. But I didn't bring a wrench. And of course the whole thing's turning, so I have to get a wrench. Be right back. I'm back. We'll just keep this bolt together so there's no confusion. Alright, maybe now we'll get the sway bar out of the way. I'll take it off this link first. 17 and 17. This might be a job for broken neck's little cousin. Nicely handled. No sense in reusing lock washers because it's a spring and they eventually wear out and they're completely flat instead of having that twist to them that it cuts into the metal to prevent the bolt from turning. So we always replace lock washers, especially the cut variety. Gonna have to have a talk with my in-house logistics specialist where we're gonna put all this stuff. My job is to take it apart. His job is to find a place to put it. We're running out of room quickly. Alright. We'll look for upgrades on this, but if not, that's okay. What's next? We're going to get the control arm off. Yeah. Trying to be organized here, but it's just not my nature. This is one of the adjustments for the alignment. There's two more here. Alright, Mr. Spider Eggs, time to go. I'll have to make a soup out of that. So we're going to separate the control arm from the spring plate and the torsion bar carrier here. Wow. That's tight. And I can't do any magic on this one because there's no room. So maybe a little bit of magic. Just make our wrench a little longer here. So there we are. Pretty easy stuff. It's a lot easier to do on a bench than it is in the car. I know that much. But normally you wouldn't have to do this. There's not much goes wrong with the torsion bars or sway bars unless you're going to change bushings, change shocks, or wheel bearings. Even these wheel bearings weren't making any noise. They don't look pitted even after all these years. So we're going to replace all that anyways, as you know. Nice thick washers. Alright, we had a brief interruption, but we're back. We're going to just get the control arm off. Trailing arm, control arm. Yeah, I guess it could be either one. And next time we'll get the other side off a lot quicker, and hopefully we'll get the torsion bars out. But for now, we're going to end it by getting this off. Our trailing arm assembly. Control arm assembly. So, helps to have the right wrenches. We're still going to be setting up a GoFundMe to help this project along for the body shop. Any overflow from that will just go to other parts of the car. Because this guy, poor guy's got some issues going on right now he's got to take care of. So we want to keep the videos going, and that's why we want this. We could easily shift gears and go on to another project, but I think we need to just stick with this and get it done the best we can. So we have our program here. Okay, one more bolt, the through bolt. I get everything else. Now, can we get this out without dropping it? Oh yeah. Very light, actually. That's it. So let's see here. We'll get the snap ring off of here, and we'll get this in the press and press the bearing assembly out that way. Clean it all up, and then this will be waiting for the wet blasting action. I know I keep talking about it, but I'm really anxious to get it working. May have found a compressor during that little break we just had, poking around online. I think we may have found something, so we'll get that running. I don't want to bore you with all those details. We'll just keep going on our 44 Turbo project. Next week, torsion bar, and then hopefully we'll get the whole other side apart. I won't be running back and forth for tools because I know what I need now. But that's it for today. Please like and subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. It's important you see these videos. Watch them as much as you possibly can, as long as you can, because we're 753 now. 753 subscribers. You guys are watching them. A lot of watch hours, which is great. We really appreciate it. So we'll see you next week with more good stuff.